Appreciation here, man, it can change monthly. I've seen stuff advertised for 2 million, the next month is 2.2, 2.3, 2.4.
In terms of the longer term future of Dubai from real estate, why do you think people should look here more than US, UK or anywhere else?
Firstly, the country is a safe place to put your money. Now, the way Dubai is going with innovation and the way they're going with future development in this country, everywhere else is miles and miles behind. Forget the American dream, forget Great Britain, it's come to Dubai, Habibi.
My theory in my head is to put money into high risk assets like cryptocurrency, then pull the profits out and put them into low risk things like real estate, which is going to appreciate and also cash flow.
Look at some of the wealthiest people in the world. They've all invested in real estate.
What's the biggest mistake people make buying in Dubai?
They get sucked in by developers. Now, I always say, do not go to a developer directly.
Do you think Town Square is still a good area to buy?
Town Square got it right. And the reason why I believe they got it right was because there's an old English boy who designed it and he realised what people needed. Everybody in the UK is used to paying 20% deposit and getting the rest on a mortgage. Here it doesn't really work like that. So your payment plans are generally structured with a percentage. The beauty of these payment plans is when they hand you over the keys, you get a completion certificate. Now that completion certificate allows you to line up a mortgage.
So if you want to make loads of money, one of the easiest ways to do this, in my opinion, is with investing in Dubai real estate. Today we have got James, who's a master and a wizard of investing in Dubai and has helped me make a lot of money, and we can talk about some of those deals today. So big thank you for your time today, James.
Oh, thank you so much, man. I've been looking forward to coming on your podcast.
Firstly, if we look at Dubai real estate, I have a background in property in the UK, as do you, and you have a few properties there still. Why should people look at Dubai?
I think the simple fact is that the UK is just not working anymore. You know, your traditional investor who was going into, say, a buy-to-let investment, doing a HMO, doing a flip, the old BRR technique that everybody's been using for ages, none of this is working anymore. And if these deals are working, you're getting screwed on the back end with your taxes. And now with the new Labour kind of budget about to be announced anytime today, sometime, I think it's just going to screw people even more. So with the same kind of investment level, you can get yourself into Dubai, where you're getting yourself into a real estate deal where you're actually protected against tenants having any major rights. You know, tenants have got rights here, but not like rights back in the UK where they can just live for free. Secondly, that big tax impact that everybody talks about. You know, you're not getting hit with tax on your earnings, and now property guys are going to get hit even more. So I think just it's a safe place to be where you're getting those yields that people used to get back in the 80s and 90s. So when you look at the figures, for me, it's just a no-brainer. And I think more and more people are cottoning onto it where they're like, okay, it kind of makes sense now.
Would you also say one of the things to look at, in my opinion, which is what excites me the most, is the appreciation in the property here is so much faster in terms of how the market moves versus somewhere like the UK, like with more traditional markets?
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Like, you know, if I look back now, just 2 years ago, I'll give you an example. We go to look at Talalagaf. Now, it's a really, really nice community. When those were released, I remember looking at something for 1.7 million. This was a 3-bedroom townhouse, 1.7 million. And at the time, I'm thinking, that's a little bit heavy. And now, when I went back there yesterday, 3.6 million on handover. And I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, you silly git. Like, you know, at the time, you just never thought it would rise so quickly. So I think, yeah, the appreciation curve here is huge. And this is another thing what I say to clients. I say, look, if you buy something off plan and you're waiting 3 years for it to be built, their kind of response is, oh, James, but I'm laying out for it every single month, I'm paying for it. But I say, but don't forget, you've got the appreciation curve that you're riding as well. So it's a very lazy investment. Appreciation here, man, it can change monthly. I've seen stuff advertised for 2 million, the next month is 2.2, 2.3, 2.4. But yeah, appreciation here is huge.
What most people, in my opinion, don't understand with the appreciation of the off-plan properties is that you're appreciating off money you haven't paid. So like, say if a property is $1 million dirham, I'll give a great example. The first property I bought from you in Town Square last year, out of the two,
yeah,
I think I paid $1 million dirhams for, and I bought on a whim because you just pitched me on it. I was like, fuck it, I'll just buy it on a debit card.
You hadn't even been there.
No, I hadn't been there. And I was like, it looks right for the numbers, so let's just do it.
Yeah.
I'm an easy sell. And then that is now worth, what, 1.5, 1.6 maybe?
The latest launch that just came in, the cheapest unit in that launch was 1.44. So, and everything is going upwards, and it's upwards of 1.5 by the next launch. So you think, you know, that's crazy numbers.
So I'd made 50% appreciation when I'd actually barely put anything down on the thing.
Yeah.
And obviously you have to pay it off as you go, but the reality is that most people don't understand of like how you can leverage against that when the markets are really strong, that you're just making money from putting down like deposits on these things, which is just going to keep appreciating. By the time you actually have the apartment or the house, be worth way, way, way more. And like a great example of that, I bought an apartment, in Marina Gate in 2021.
Yeah.
Like it's basically doubled in value since in like 3-4 years, which is insane.
Oh, what a great building that is, right? Yeah.
In terms of the longer term future of Dubai from real estate, why do you think people should look here more than US, UK or anywhere else?
Look, I think, number one, firstly, the country is a safe place to put your money. Now, a lot of people are talking about this Dubai bubble and it's going to burst and it's not going to last for ages. Now, if I look at it over the last 3 years, maybe 5 years ago, that UBS global index bubble was a little bit shaky. But as every single year's gone on, Dubai's become a stable market now, It's not so much transient where people think it's going to burst. And I also feel the way Dubai is going with innovation and the way they're going with future development in this country, everywhere else is miles and miles behind, So I think the vision that the Sheikh has for the place, where he wants to take the place, it's just cutting edge. And I think a lot of the places like the UK, the US, first of all, they're so messed up with worrying about what's going on in their political system. They can't even get that shit straight. So that's going to take them years to put straight anyway. And then when there is some kind of hope or light at the end of the tunnel that the economy is getting better, it's time to change the government again, so it goes backwards again. So I think these guys don't have that problem here. It's one person making decisions, and if he says, I want to extend the road, or look at their budget, the hugest budget they've ever had, what is it, 308 billion they're putting in, or dirhams they're putting in to the new budget that was announced. I did a post on it the other day, and I'm thinking, back in the UK, people are screwing about like, we're going to increase this tax, we're going to bring higher rate taxpayers in. These guys have got the basics right, they've got the fundamentals right, their foundations are strong, and I can only see it going one way, and it's going upwards.
I can't see anything slowing the momentum, and what I would even say is the word that comes to mind is integration, because the amount of Westerners who are coming here now who are integrated and the amount of people who are basically fleeing the UK to come to Dubai with families means that people are settling here long term, which means that there's going to always be a high demand for real estate here. And the people that are born here then have kids, and that's where it's going to keep growing and growing. Yeah. And they've also said that they want to try and double the population. So like you have to look at the numbers of what drives economies generally is actually like population growth mainly. Mm-hmm. So it's impossible that if they double the population, property prices don't aggressively increase because of demand.
Yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head. People are coming here and they're staying here. Whereas before, they used to say, okay, you know what, I'll give it a go for a couple of years and I'll go back. Now I'm getting calls or people booking Zoom calls with me saying, James, I've sold my house in the UK, I've sold my car, me and my family are coming to Dubai in a month's time, and we need to buy a house, and that's it. There is no second chance. There's no plan B. They've got plan A, and they're coming out here, buying, and they're living here. And I'm seeing that time and time again. Even where I live, there's a lot of Europeans, and people are just buying. And whereas Dubai used to be pretty transient, look, I could take my sister, for example. She's been here 6 years, and she said to me, I'm only going out there for 2 years to earn some money, and I'm coming back. 6 years, 3 kids later, she's still here, and this is firmly home. And I think that is happening time and time and time again, that you can't call this place a transient place anymore. This is the place where everybody wants to be, Forget the American dream, forget Great Britain. Let's get our ass over, come to Dubai, Habibi. That is really the one.
I haven't heard it called Great Britain for a while.
That's
another subject. Why do you think real estate is the best investment class?
Look, for me, I've been doing it for a long time, even in the UK, and look, everybody talks about crypto, digital currency, all of that being great. Now, I'm not going to diss it because it is great, because a lot of my clients do it. But for me, when I look at real estate, I think, look at some of the wealthiest people in the world. They've all invested in real estate, right? Time and time again. I look at people like, say, Grant Cardone, massive in real estate. You look at other people that have done very, very well. There seems to be some kind of element towards real estate. What I like about real estate is it's a physical asset. I can see it. I can touch it. I can feel it. If it goes down in value, I know it's there. I can go and give it a hug. And what I've been able to do with real estate over the years is every time it's increased, I've taken the equity out and I've grown my portfolio even bigger. And every 7 to 10 years, I know in, say, example in London, it used to double, but that hasn't happened anymore. But I can see that happening here. Forget 7 to 10 years, I'm seeing stuff double every 2 to 3 years. So I think you can apply the same business model here. So you buy for 2 million, it goes to 4 million. Even if you've got a 1.5 million mortgage on it, you release the equity and you just get your money making babies for you. You keep buying houses, keep buying them, stacking them. And, you know, there's always going to be a demand for people to live. As long as we've got people coming here and the way the property prices are going, it just makes the rental market huge, which is good for you as a landlord, as a property owner. So for me, it's always been the safest class. I've always loved it. And, you know, I know people say Bitcoin, Ethereum, all of these cryptocurrencies. But what I find is even those guys, when they make profit, oh, James, I want to buy a house. It's like, hold on a second. A few years ago, you were saying Bitcoin's the one thing that I'm invested in. But all of you guys come back round and you want to put your money into something safe.
My theory in my head is to put money into high-risk assets like cryptocurrency, then pull the profits out and put them into low-risk things like real estate, which is going to appreciate and then also cash flow. And if you just cycle between those two things, you can't really lose money. I think where a lot of people go wrong is actually give a really good example. One of my clients in 7-figure scaling system messaged me this morning, like, what should I invest in? I replied, like, what do you mean? It's like, oh, what meme coins do you think you're going to pump? I was like, firstly, that's just gambling. So like, I don't fucking do that. And I was like, if you want like as safe as you can in crypto, buy Solana and AVAX, they'll go up. Yeah, in my opinion. And I think that just shows culturally where a lot of people maybe think with the get rich quick scheme with like meme coins, all this type of shit. Like, yes, it does work for some people, but for someone to win, someone has to lose.
Sure.
It's like a transactional relationship, right? So you have to understand there's a lot of people who are losing money doing that. There are a few people winning. Whereas if you physically buy a house that you own, you can like touch the thing. It's there. Like no one's stealing that from you or stealing your ledger or you're getting a crypto wallet hacked. I've had a crypto wallet hacked and had 15 grand taken before. Like nothing you can do about it. It just is what it is. No one's going to go and like steal your house overnight.
You know, that's what I say. Like when your Bitcoin goes down, where's it gone? It's gone into thin air, right? At least when your property falls in price, you can go up to it and give it a hug and feel sad with a physical asset that you can hold. So yeah, I mean, it's always been maybe it's a generational thing as well. I mean, in the Asian culture, Indian culture, those guys came over in the 60s, and it was always like, let's buy a house, you know, and it's just gone down the generation, you know. I don't know what it is, but every successful Indian I know has a great property portfolio.
Do you think people should buy where they live or rent where they live?
If my wife's listening to this, she's going to kill me, but I think people should rent where they live. Because I think buying your own home becomes a bit of a liability. You know, you got that chunky payment going out. If something goes wrong with the damn thing, you've got to look after it. You know, like I remember back in our place, we had when we were in London, for example, I had some cracks appear on the side of the wall and I'm thinking, this is nothing, man. I'll just fill it in. You know, it's bloody subsidence. And they've got to dig these massive pit holes out. They've got to underpin the building. You get a bill for 35 grand later. Okay, it's not a huge amount of money, but you think, that is, you know, if it was rented, I'd be ringing up Mr. Landlord and say, well, there's a crack. He's going to have to put me in a hotel until he gets all of that sorted. So I think you should have loads of investment properties and just rent somewhere shit hot. You know, something really nice. Go and get that luxury villa even if it costs you 10 grand a month, 15 grand a month, whatever it might be. But it's not your liability. It's somebody else's liability that you're technically enjoying off of all the money that's being bought in from your rental properties.
One of the downsides potentially I can see with real estate investments property is there can be some hassle for it. What would be your advice for someone in terms of how to have it hands off?
Okay, so I think when you're looking at going into a real estate investment, especially here in Dubai, I think you want to work with someone who can take care of everything from A to Z. Now, what I mean by that is I always say to my clients, I say the real work begins once I've sold you something, you know, whereas a lot of agents are like, okay, I've sold somebody something, I'm gone. They don't see the longevity in a client. A lot of people out here, because it's, you know, it's a low barrier to entry game, let's be fair. People want to sell, earn money, and they're gone. But I don't see it like that. I always say to people, deal with a brokerage that firstly advises you correctly, secondly sells you the best product, makes sure that they're getting you the best payment terms, you know, and then after that, the brokerage is still there to make sure during the handover process, if you're in London, Scotland, wherever you might be, you need somebody to physically go in and think, okay, have these walls been built? Is this aircon working? All of that. And then you need someone who can manage it for you as well. So you just want, I would say, the way you mitigate your risk is go with someone who looks after the whole process. You don't want to be buying something and then thinking, shit, I've got to come over every 6 months to view it, to see, tick things off, is it done? Then I've got to come over and find a tenant. Then I've got to go and use another agency to put a tenant in. When we sell you something, I always say it's a marriage. You're married with me for the next 3 years. It's not a, one night stand, in, out, shake it all about, bye, see you later. No, I'm going to be the most annoying person you've ever met because I'm there. Because look, for me, it becomes personal. It really does. I look at some of the properties that we've sold, and when I see them, they're like my own little babies. I treat your money like it's my money because you're not buying a packet of sweets. It's a huge investment. So yeah, mitigate your risk by working with someone who not only loves the process but who gets it.
How many of your clients buy more than one unit?
I would say it's creeping up to about 50 to 60% now. They'll buy one. Then they start getting the itch because as soon as they see that actually, like you hit the nail on the head, when you see that actually, shit, I've only put a little bit of money in. Once the penny drops and you think, I've made profit on money employed, not the overall amount. You've got to be really stupid if you're looking at this thinking, I've only made 6% on 2 million, but you've never paid 2 million. You paid something like 10% or whatever. As soon as the penny drops on that and they see that the payment process is actually quite streamlined and that they can link it to, say, income, business income, or they might have income somewhere else, we find more and more people are doing that. I mean, I've got obviously clients like yourself who are up to multiple units. We've got, I would say, 50 to 60% of people are now 2 units plus.
That for me is the biggest no-brainer. Even I think the one I bought in downtown from you last year, where the guy had to sell it.
Oh man, what a crazy deal that was!
I looked at it, it's like, okay, the amount of money you have to put down versus the payoff period in terms of paying off is like, there's no way this isn't going to appreciate shitloads over that period of time.
Yeah.
And I think that's where people look too much at the front face value rather than like the projected growth over a period of time, and also how much actual of your own capital you've put in at that point.
Yeah. I mean, look, I still remember that deal because I sent you over the spreadsheet for it, and I think you took something like 7 minutes and said yes. Because like I think a lot of the investors that look at the figures, if the figures work, it's a yes. If the figures work, it's a no. And obviously, if you've got the money there or you can forecast the money, it's a very, very quick decision. But even now, I'm finding like normal husband and wives are just like, you know what, we need to do this. Forget it. We've been in these stupid buy-to-lets for so long. It's interest only. Even when people are financing them 50% of their payment on a mortgage plan, the penny drops when they realize, okay, I'm actually paying this loan down. Whereas in the UK, you can have a whole portfolio just built on interest only. But what happens when 21 years of your 25 years have gone past? What's your exit strategy? I've got people that I know that have got 50, 60 properties. They get to the end of their life at 65, not end of their life, but they get to 65 and they've now got a problem on how do they pay these loans back? They haven't taken any kind of life insurance to cover themselves. So now they're in a position thinking, okay, all I've got is cash flow. The future generational wealth that I was building, I wasn't actually thinking about paying down my loans, so I've got something for my children. Now, a simple thing to do with that is make sure you've got a whole of life policy that covers all of your loans, So mortgage your portfolio up to the sky, But when you die, if it's all paid off and then it goes on to the next generation, it's like a clean slate. But it takes complex trusts and shit to do that. But, you just got to be a little bit clever in your thinking.
What's the biggest mistake people make buying into Dubai?
They get sucked in by developers. Now, I always say, do not go to a developer directly because they are, number one, they're only going to sell you one product. They're not going to give you a whole of market opinion. And these sales guys are trained in this NLP shit. They get you in a room, 3-4 hours. I've had people say to me, James, I don't know what happened in those 3 hours, but they made me sign. I go, what do you mean they made you sign? I goes, the way they were working with me, the things they were saying, they actually made me sign. So I think some of the biggest mistakes people make is, number one, they go direct to a developer. Don't do that. Go to someone who can take you on a whole of market, give you an honest opinion of everything. Number two, if a developer's saying to you, you need to sign there and then, otherwise this deal's gone, there's some element of truth in it, but you've always got 48 hours, 72 hours to go away because they can hold a unit for you. And I would say number 3, if it doesn't feel right in your gut, don't do it. Walk away. If someone spent a week with you and you're thinking, no, this don't feel right, or this guy's a wrong and I'm not getting a good vibe, just walk away from it. Because like I say, here in Dubai, because it's such a low barrier to entry, a broker is going to take you where they're going to earn the most amount of money. Now, if a developer's offering them 10% commission, a Rolex, if you sell a whole floor, we'll give you a Tesla Cybertruck. All of these things are true, by the way. These guys are going to take you there because they don't give a fuck about you. Once they've been paid, they're gone, done and dusted. So those are some of the things I would say just be wary of. Ask questions. Oh, the other big question is, ask your broker, do you own property in Dubai? Have you bought in Dubai? And if the answer to that is no, you need a new broker, man. Get yourself a new broker.
But yeah, it's not congruent at that price.
Exactly. Because if you're, like, if I'm selling you, say, Town Square, which is my area, I'm invested there. I live there. I buy there. Any profits we make, we put it back into there. Because the proof is in the pudding, you know. I'm not going to sell you something where my money isn't. And I always say, ask your broker, do you own one of these? If the answer's no, you know, you got your answer. Why? If it's that good, why haven't you bought it?
Do you think Town Square is still a good area to buy?
Yes. I still feel, even at the price it's increasing up to, it's still very undervalued in comparable to every other community. Last month, 96% occupancy, which means it was one of the highest. It was 1 or 2 in the whole of Dubai in terms of where people are moving to.
Really?
So I've got people leaving Arabian ranches saying, look, I'm downsizing because I don't have half the facilities. Yes, Arabian ranches, Ema, great developer, but everybody is realizing that we need a community. You know, in Town Square, you can walk out your apartment, you can go and have a pint, you can go and have a meal.
Got Nando's.
You got a Nando's, you got a Five Guys, you got now Italian restaurant, you got all these restaurants opening. It's very, very multicultural. They celebrate every kind of religious festival, Christmas, not that Halloween's a religious festival, but Diwali, Eid, all of those. And people are realizing there's a real sense of value in community. And I always say, Town Square for me is one of the best areas because no other area that I've been to, even really, really nice, Dubai Hills, say for example, I've got a client who owns a 15 million dirham villa in Dubai Hills. He bought a 2-bedroom for me and he said to me, James, I do not have half of the stuff that you've got here in Town Square. He goes, I take my kid to the park and there's rat poison. He goes, what the hell? And this is supposed to be this really nice affluent community. So I think Town Square got it right. And the reason why I believe they got it right was because there's an old English boy who designed it and he realized what people needed. Simple things like pavements to walk on, you know, zebra crossings to press the button so you can cross the road, parks where you can take your dog, a pub, restaurants, coffee shops where you can hang out, where you can walk the whole community, you can run the community. So for me, even right now, it's still undervalued. Give it 8 or 9 months. I think they're trying to bring it in line with an average of where Dubai is. We're at about 1,300 dirhams a square foot. They're trying to take it up to the 19 to 2,000. So you imagine if you buy now and they take it up to that, mate, you're sitting on a product that's going to be worth money all day long.
What do you think? Is there any other areas that are going to be fast and up and coming?
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. Where we are positioned in Town Square, we're in this new patch of area now where the new airport is. So all of this area, I've been banging.
That's going to be like the biggest airport in the world, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's phenomenal, man. Like 5
I saw
runways.
the other day, that's mental.
Yeah, side by side, 5 runways. Now, what's happening is all of this area was untouched. And I was saying to everybody, actually, when you bought yours at 1 million or a tad over 1 million, I was saying to everybody, you are not going to find a place that's 1,000 square foot for 1 million dirhams.
To be fair, when I looked, I was just like, this is so fucking cheap. This is the biggest no-brainer I've ever seen.
Yeah. Because now you're at that's studio money now in some
that's
places.
why that was literally an impulse of like I wasn't looking for it. And I was like, yeah, fuck it, I'll take it.
Yeah. And I still say that like that area, that whole patch of area before the official announcement was made on the airport, people are a little bit snobby. They just go, oh, you live in Town Square? It's a little bit far, isn't it? You can't really get into anywhere. It's a little bit out the way. Now, since the airport's been announced, Emar's bought a load of land around there. Dabak's bought a load around. Shoba's got land. So all of these guys are now introducing their master communities. And I say to people, if you've bought in Town Square, you've bought in a community that's already ready. So imagine when all of those thousands and thousands of people come to build engineers, consultants, are they really going to want to live in an area that's under construction, or they want to go to a community where they can relax at the end of the day after work? And that's one of the reasons why Town Square's now got a hotel coming, because they've realised people come to the area to stay for a period of time, which means the Airbnb market's going to kick off as well. So I feel all of that area around there is where you really want to be looking. You know, I don't get me wrong, I like the marina, I like the Palm, but all of these areas are Palm, high net worth individual if you want a signature piece and you want to sit on it. If you want to make money in the Palm, buy an old villa, renovate it, flip it and make some money, but then you need some serious money to get into that. So you really want to be looking at up and coming areas that are going to blow up, and you know, we've seen it already. But say Damac Hills too. People used to say it was shit. You know, it's pretty crap when I went round there, but 800,000 dirhams for a 3-bedroom villa, which is now selling off plan for 1.8 or 2 million. They just announced the new ones. Do you remember that time when I sent you that big standalone 5-bed? What was it, like 1.8 million or 2 million? You know, those have doubled already. So you think all of these areas that people were quite snobby about, they're the areas you want to be watching for.
I think that's also whereas people should look outside of the box where everyone else is. I think people look at the here and now rather than what's happening in 2-3 years' time.
Yeah.
You mentioned there in terms of actually like Town Square is a good question to ask. Do you think people are better off Airbnb-ing those type of properties or having a long-term rentals in terms of maximising their ROI on their investment?
See, I think I would say Airbnb it if you want to enjoy it a couple of times a year yourself. Now, if you're going to use it for more than 2 months of the year, if you're coming over with your family, then I would go down the Airbnb market. Now, once that hotel's, as soon as they announced that hotel, I thought wherever a hotel goes, Airbnb works. Because people don't want to be paying hotel rates. And plus, if you're in a place for any long period of time, an Airbnb just works nicely. So I do feel there's going to be a strong Airbnb market there. But I feel you need to decide, if you want to enjoy it yourself, then you need to go Airbnb. If you want to be a lazy investor, stick it on a long-term let, because you're going to make some seriously good rent anyway. And what we found is every time we get a rental property come up for rent, or something that's ready-made being sold in the secondary market, there's a queue of people lining up. What you find with Town Square is when somebody moves in, they very rarely move out. You know, they've been there. I speak to people that have been there 7 years since, 11 years since the beginning, and people are just like, no, I ain't going nowhere, because everything's on your doorstep.
Do you think that's because it feels like a European community?
Yes, I feel there's a strong element to that, because it does. You know, you see people in the morning like walking out and going for a run or going for a coffee, and on the weekends you see people sitting in the park. And these are certain things that I used to see in the UK when I was growing up. People sitting in the park, for example, with a blanket having a picnic. Where else have you seen? Can you see that in the marina anywhere? No. Yeah, you know, it just doesn't happen, right? And I say to people, I say, look, I've been in Dubai for 3 years now. I've been to Dubai Mall 3 times. I've been to the marina maybe a handful of time, most of the time, to come and see you. But you can enjoy all of these things, but at the end of the day, if you've got kids, you want to go somewhere where it's quiet, peaceful, and your kids can open the front door, they can get lost and go and keep themselves busy, and they're not bothering you to keep taking them out. Let's go here, Mum, let's go here. And it's what I say to clients. I say, it's all good having a nice, shiny building, but if your kids come out and they're on the main road and they can't do fuck all, well, what's the point? What's the point? Oh, yeah, guy goes to me, James, it's got a swimming pool on the balcony. I said, it's not a swimming pool on the balcony, it's a fucking hot tub. You can put your arms out like that. It's a bath. Oh, is that going to keep 3 of your kids entertained? No, it's not. Town Square will, because there's skate parks, wave machines, kids hang out there. There's so much to do.
Is there anywhere else in the UAE people should look at investments?
Yes. I really like what's going on in RAK at the moment. Now, I just find RAK to be a lot more peaceful.
It's cool, like the mountains. It feels nice. That feels more European almost in itself.
Yeah, it's really, and the temperature seems to be like 5 degrees cooler down there. So every couple of weeks, say twice a month, I'll take a couple of days out and just go there just to relax, check into a hotel, sit by the pool, do a load of work, and then I've been watching this Al Marjan Island coming up, and it really does look fantastic, man. I'm looking at this place thinking, coastal property has always done really, really well. You know, if you look through Dubai, anything that's waterfront or water facing always keeps a strong value. And you look at RAK at the moment, and almost all of it's waterfront, because it's little pockets of islands. And I didn't want to start pushing this to clients too soon until I'd got down there and done some research. Now, the great thing for me is one of my clients who recently bought in Town Square works in RAC for one of the governments. That she works in the government down there. So she gets to hear firsthand of what's going on. And she's been feeding me a lot of information. I've been thinking, okay, this is really an area that you want to be looking at. So I do really, really like what's going on in RAC at the moment. And then I also feel like places like the other Emirates are up and coming as well. That, you know, people are. What's the other one that?
Fujairah, Al Quoin?
Not Fujairah. What's the one that's 45 minutes away?
Sharjah?
No, the Ajman.
Yeah.
Ajman. I'm looking at Ajman now, and I'm thinking, okay, if you're somebody who is looking for a banging villa for 2 million dirhams that looks the part, and you think, damn, this looks good, man. Okay, it's not Dubai, quite. But if you want a banging house, which is only going to go up, 2 million dirhams, you get...
How far is it from Ashman to downtown Dubai, do you reckon?
They say it's 45 minutes.
Bro, it's taking me 45 minutes to go from the marina to downtown sometimes.
Yeah, they say it's just a clear road. So those kind of areas, I look at those and I think, God, these are looking all right. And Arabian Hills was another one. They've just introduced a load of building plots. They're 150 dirhams a square foot, man. And you think, that is piss cheap, man. You could buy something 15,000 square foot, build something really nice. Eventually, that's going to be worth some money because everything seems to be flowing that way now.
Down the coast.
Yeah, because everything's too busy up that way.
Yeah, they can't go further inland almost.
Yeah, there's no pockets of land. And I always say to my guys, I go, look, when everybody's turning left, you need to turn right, man. You can't follow the herd. You got to be that lone sheep that goes and finds its own path.
What sort of money are they looking at for the Ras Al Khaimah stuff?
It's not that expensive, man. You know, I saw some entry level stuff there for 1.6 million, 1.7 million. You know, there was a Nikki Beach thing that came up. I sent that to our friend Nick because I know that's his kind of appetite. But there's some really nice bits coming up down there, and I just feel now is probably a right time to get in. And once that area is all nicely developed and built, I do feel that it could be the next Ibiza of the UAE.
How, for anyone listening, do the payment plans work on property? If you look at something like at Ras Al Khaimah or Town Square, because that's probably one of the things that people won't understand necessarily unless you bought in Dubai before, because if you come from the UK, you don't necessarily have that available so much. Yeah, really good question, man. So look, everybody in the UK is used to paying 20% deposit and getting the rest on a mortgage. Here it doesn't really work like that. So your payment plans are generally structured with a percentage. So you'll hear this term kicking around 50-50, 60-40, 70-30. And basically all that means is how much is due during the construction stage. So if it's a 50-50 payment plan, like say Town Square is, 50% of the value is due during the construction. So if you buy something for 2 million, 1 million of it's going to be due over the 2.5 years that it's being built. Now, you don't have to pay all of that up front. It is increments on a payment plan. So what I say to my clients is every 6 months a payment's due. Get into the habit every single month of putting money aside so that you know when your payment's due, you've got the money there. Now, the beauty of these payment plans is when they hand you over the keys, you get a completion certificate. Now, that completion certificate allows you to line up a mortgage. So even if you are buying something on a 50-50 payment plan, you can get it in your head that you only really need to pay half of it because you could line up a mortgage for handover day that the mortgage company will take over. Now, the thing here in Dubai, like anywhere, a mortgage company is not going to lend you any money until the physical asset is ready or the bank can get round and view it. So payment plans, if you're clever, you could really make a lot of money out of this because you could utilize that payment plan and then right at the end, you mortgage the last portion and your initial outlay has been a lot smaller and your capital, your pot in the beginning could go across several apartments, you know. Now, certain developers, you'll notice they'll give you, a good developer will always give you an aggressive payment plan because they know they don't have to give you a payment plan. So it might be 80% due and 20 at the end. A shit developer might say, okay, you can pay us 20% during construction and we'll give you 80% right at the end with a 3-year post handover payment plan. For me, that's alarm bells ringing that they can't sell their stock. Again, if any developer's offering you a discount where they say, okay, it's 2 million on the payment plan, but if you pay it all up front, we'll give you a 40% discount. For me, that's another alarm bell because if you went on if you bought a product for 2 million and you went on a payment plan, matey next door to you bought it 40% cheaper,
where the fuck does that leave you when you want to sell it? So you really have to be a little bit careful. But general thing is that if you're buying something off plan, you got to make sure you got the money for it. If you're buying secondary, you can get a mortgage.
To give an example, what would be the type of payment plan you'd have on, like, say, a 2-bed in Town Square?
You'd be looking at around, say the cheapest one you get is about 1.4 million. Your initial outlay on it will be somewhere within 60 days. You've got to make sure you've got about 50 odd grand, because you're going to have to pay the first 10% and the DOD payment, and then very quickly after that, your next 10% is going to be due. So whatever deal you look at, just make sure within 60 days you've got 24% of it stacked aside. Then after that, it falls 6 months, 6 months, 6 months, 6 months, and then the last payment isn't due for quite a long period of time. So they've got a really, really nice payment plan. And Town Square's got to be one of the only developers I know that if you're struggling in your big first payment, like, you know, you need a little bit of time. If you're an international buyer, these guys get it. If you said to them, look, I can't book with 10%, I need 30 days to shift my money around, these guys are very, very accommodating, and I think that's why they're so popular as well. They will shift a few things around to make sure the client's happy. One
of the things I'd give some advice from a practical side of things for anyone who's listening to this who's got a business that's cash flowing is that why this works phenomenally well is, say you've got money stacked aside, you put 50k down now. If you know you've got to pay another 25, say in 6 months' time, you know you've got 6 months to easily save that 25k up and then pay it again.
Yeah.
And I'll give an example. When I bought the place over Marina Gate, I can't remember how much I paid. I think maybe I paid like 180k up front, and then I paid 45,000 every 6 months. And I just knew every 6 months I had to save the money to then pay the 45k. So it's like, you just use your business because you know it's going to produce like spin-off cash, provided you run it correctly, that you can then pay off the next payments. And that's where you just have to think ahead and look how your business is working, growing, and then you're going to get that appreciation from getting into the market now.
Do you think that made you a little bit more disciplined as well?
Yeah, because you also, like, you know you've got payments coming up. So you're like, okay, cool, I have to be structured because I've got 45k, but I've got to pay here, I've got 45k, I've got to pay here. And then I think it also... Actually, I say the best thing I'd say from this is I now own that apartment outright, and so I don't even fucking remember paying for it almost.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like...
that's
which
great
is wild.
feeling.
And then it's appreciated loads. I've had like, I don't know, 80, 90 grand worth of rent maybe since I've been there.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's a great location, man. I love that location.
Yeah, and it's like next month I get... they pay every 6 months 15 grand in my bank account for this...
Bonus money.
Yeah, it's like just walking around money, right? So it's like... That's really the goal, is to then build your business so then you have assets to give you passive income, so then you don't have to work in. Like I said to you before, like my goal is to have like 10 units and make like 25, 30k a month of rental income, and I can do whatever the fuck I want. Like that for me is what freedom should be, and that's how real estate, in my opinion, is the safest houses approach to get to that point.
Yeah.
And you've helped me a huge amount to be able to get to that position in terms of like the 3 units I bought with you so far.
Yeah, and do you know what? I think you hit the nail on the head. Like, if you've got a good business, and this is why I think like people from the 7-figure scaling system, these guys look at especially the clued on ones, the sensible ones. Yeah, I'm saying the sensible ones. I'm saying the ones that, you know, they look at it and they think, okay, when I go through a payment plan with one of your guys and they see 23 grand 6 months, 23 grand 6 months, they look at it and they think, oh, fucking well, I'm doing that weekly. Or, well, I know I can do that, you know. Ironically enough, I had one of your girls who just looked at the payment plan and said, can I pay it all off now? And I thought, damn, girl, you got that kind of money sitting. I
can probably guess who that is.
Yeah. You know, and there's certain people in the group that get it, where they think, okay, I have a shelf life. You know, I know at some point that I'm going to have to stop doing what I'm doing. And I think your guys realize that they take their profits and put them into real estate. And we have got guys from your group looking at maybe a second apartment, or, you know, they think, okay, I might get another one later on. But you're right. When they know it's cash flowing and their business is doing well and they're putting it towards something that's going to benefit them, it doesn't really hurt as much.
And my advice from anyone is that, like, once you've done it and you've got one and you just suddenly end up with like chunks of money landing in your bank account, you're like, this is the fucking easiest thing in the world.
Yeah.
And that's where, like, you gave the analogy of like money makes you babies. It's like the game is to make money, put it into something that then is just going to keep paying you for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
I think that's where a lot of younger people get it twisted and spending money on stupid cars, watches, and flying business class when they shouldn't be. It's like, if you save that money, invest it into stuff for 5 to 7 years, you can then fucking have anything you want.
Yeah. You know, the amount of times I look at my portfolio and I think, that property saved my ass. This property saved my ass. You know, if I sell that right now, I don't have to work for the rest of my days. But at the time, I remember thinking, all my mates are buying nice cars. I want a nice car. I want a nice watch. I want this. But you look back at them now, they're still in that nice car. They've still got that same nice watch. And they haven't been able to get the real estate deals that pay you time and time again. So I think once you buy it once, there's so many things you can do with a property once it's there.
Is there any finishing advice you'd have to anyone who's apprehensive in terms of investing in property in Dubai?
I think, yeah, well, you know, there's a good reason why people are nervous, because, you know, you hear all these horror stories. What I would say to anybody who's looking to do something is, first of all, obviously, give me a shout. I'd be happy to sit down and go through things with you. But you gotta look at it in a way and think, okay, I'm buying this now, but you're going to enjoy it years down the line. It's delayed gratification. You know, I'm looking at some of my places that I bought 17 years ago. Say, for example, I bought something for 300 grand. It just got valued at 1.3 mil. And I'm thinking, 17 years ago, I never thought that was going to happen. But I'm so glad I just stuck at it. So I would say, you got to look at property as delayed gratification. That it is just going to keep getting better as years go on. Your mortgage gets smaller, it goes up in value. And if you are considering buying something, just sit down and look at the math, especially people from your group. It's very if you're one of those guys on Charlie's program who does really well, or you're starting to do really well, it's very easy for you to afford one of these payment plans when you look at it.
100%.
Yeah.
That's some great advice. Where's the best place for people to find out more about you, James?
Instagram.
What's your Instagram handle?
It's James H. Sahota.
Cool. We'll drop that in the show notes below. If you have any specific questions in investing in Dubai, drop James a message directly. I'm sure he would love to help. Or drop any questions below the video. Took value from this, make sure you subscribe to the podcast, and see you next episode very soon.
Thank you so much.
That's really good, dude. I guarantee.